Hello, BookTube. I've got a Friday MegaStuff video for you here, just a few little bits and pieces that really wouldn't sustain a video on their own. And the first we'll start off with is tech. I showed you, I've been, this is the least likely channel in the world to have tech updates, and yet I am tech fascinated. And I showed you the other day my ticket to coolness. I showed you that I got a burner phone. What that means is a $15 cell phone that comes with a SIM card and an activation code so that you can make a new phone number and use the phone. And I was curious about that because I've gone into a long limbo where my iPhone doesn't appear to want to give me the ability to make a phone plan. And I put up with that and put up with that, and then this weekend I suddenly realized I suddenly came clashing against the reality that I don't have the ability to make phone calls, and that sometimes that's really useful. So I was thinking about it and thought, out of outrage, I thought, my first thought was, well, okay, then you have to mask up and go down to the AT&T walk-in store in downtown Boston and just wait as long as it takes to get some idiot tech person to look at this and free it, figure out what the problem is. And then I thought, no, that's not what most people in the world do, right? Most people in the world just get a cheap cell phone. They get what is parochially referred to as a burner cell phone, something that doesn't cost you any money, and that is just going to be a phone that you use maybe for one trip or for one mission or whatever. So I didn't put a whole lot of thought into it. When I went online to look around, I looked for something that was unlocked, that came with its own SIM card. No, I'm not interested in going and getting another SIM card. And that was really cheap. And I found this thing. This is, I forget the actual brand of it, but the manufacturer is Alcatel, who do TVs. They do mid-range TVs. And this was apparently their first attempt at a burner phone. Paid $15 for it. And my assumption was that that's all it would be good for. That I would be able to use it to activate a phone account, and that would be it. And I was completely wrong. And subsequent searching around on YouTube and looking at YouTube review videos, which is really an invaluable resource for anything, have proven to me that I was wrong. This is a fully functional cell phone. It's not a step down at all. It's capable of everything that my iPhone is capable of. It has the Google Play Store pre-installed on it. So Instagram, Tumblr, Facebook, Twitter, Gmail, Google Docs, YouTube, anything that you want, you can do on this phone. With no functional, the camera is just fine. There's no functional difference between this and my iPhone, which cost me, even used, hundreds of dollars. This cost $15. And I wasn't expecting that at all. I was expecting the burner phone to be useless for anything else. That it would be really clunky, a flip phone, a piece of junk. That is not true, and my suspicion yesterday, a number of you emailed me to say that my suspicion is almost certainly true. My suspicion yesterday was that the reason why is because all of that stuff that I just mentioned is secondary to the reason why people get and then discard or upgrade their cell phones, which is video games and maybe watching movies. I haven't actually tried Amazon Prime or Netflix on this thing, but my impression increasingly, especially after using a phone like this, which, I mean, if it weren't for something like that, some ruling concern that isn't immediately obvious, then no cell phone would ever cost more than $15, because this does anything that anybody could want a cell phone to do. The more I think about it, the more I look around, the more I realize that is probably the reason for this. I mean, two things probably drive the price down on this thing. One is that you are the carrier, the producer of this thing is hoping that you will sign up for one of their programs, and that's where they'll make their money in your coverage. And two is the very basic operating system of what to do doesn't require a whole lot. This probably won't have as long a shelf life as my iPhone, but my last iPhone died abruptly and left me with a hole in my technology roster of something that I actually needed. I had to go out and spend money. Well, this didn't cost any money. So a number of you have said that that suspicion is probably right, that probably it's lackluster gaming performance that would cause people not to care about this thing. And since I don't play online video games, that was amazing. I was using this thing and devoting some time to it, seeing what could be done on it. And the one thing I noticed that I didn't, of course, I did what all of you should do. I spent half an hour on this thing, domesticating it, and I did that half hour largely consisted of things that you should do as well. I went into all of the settings and disabled them. I disabled any ability of this machine that I know of anyway. I'm sure it has subterranean abilities, but I disabled any ability of this machine to listen to me. Get rid of any kind of electronic valet or assistant. Get rid of anything like that. Get rid of notifications. Turn them all off. Turn all sounds off. Turn off any kind of location detector. Deny all of that so that this phone doesn't know anything about me if I can tell it not to. If I can control it, it knows nothing about me. I did all of that first, and then I was using it. Then I thought, okay, I'll put the iPhone away and I'll use this thing for a while just to see what it's like. And the one problem I had is that it's a little laggy. Works just fine, but it's a little laggy. You tap on something or you swipe on something, and there is a few seconds before it happens. The Steve from the year 2000, the year 2001, the year 1994, would have considered it miraculous. But the Steve who is pampered by cell phone technology, by Apple technology, I thought, oh, it's a little laggy. And so... Now, don't lecture me in the comments, all right? I can stop anytime I want. And so, I ordered another burner cell phone. I spent another $15 on a different burner phone. This one is Verizon locked, and it is Alcatel. It is not the secondary brand that this thing was. I forget the name of that brand, but the name of that brand may have something to do with out licensing for certain parts or whatever. The charging brick, for instance, for this phone says Alcatel right on it. But they are not the same. However that is, they are the same size, the same basic chassis and everything. But I'm going to put the old burner phone down. But the new burner phone, the Verizon one, doesn't have any of that lag. So the picture gets even better because I spent another $15 and got a cell phone that is functionally identical to my iPhone. Except that I haven't tried movie playing on it. I haven't downloaded Netflix or Amazon Prime onto this thing. I will, but everything else works just fine. This is a nice, fast, smooth machine. This one doesn't have any lag in usability. So your tech update, I'm not going to get any, in case, just to cut you off before you start yelling at me, I'm not going to get any more burner phones. I now have two, in addition to my iPhone. I haven't tried videos on these, and also, ironically enough, considering that it's been a whole day, 2 days, I haven't actually set up a phone line on either one of these things. That will be the next thing that I will do. I think I will do that on the original burner phone. I just go through the process and see how possible it is to set up a phone account, pay $20 a month for limited data or whatnot. I'll probably make one phone call a month, so I don't need much more than that, and see if it works without a hitch. I admit I'm a little leery because I've hit nothing but problems with my actual iPhone, but these things are made not to cause problems to the nefarious people who buy them. So that is your tech update. I tried a burner phone, realized that they are actually just normal cell phones. There's absolutely no reason why any normal person who's not a gamer should ever don't spend more than $40 on a cell phone, ever. Less than that, $15. Spend $15 on a cell phone that works just fine for everything that you want it to do, especially if you just want a backup phone. I bought a burner phone and thought it's a little laggy, so I bought a second burner phone. It's not laggy at all. So now I know about the technology. All that remains is for me to use it as a phone, for me to get it hooked up as a phone, and that made me curious. Finding this new discovery, this technology is perfectly fine for almost everything. I've tried 99% of what I would use technology for, 99% of what I do with my cell phone, my iPhone, and it's perfectly fine. It's not like I'm holding it in my hand and thinking, oh, well, it's okay since I'm settling for less. No, it's the same experience. That has made me wonder. That has made me wonder about full-size tablets. As you know, if you've been breathlessly keeping up with my tech updates on this channel, I recently spent actual money on a 2019 entry-level iPad, just the simple iPad, not iPad Pro, not iPad Air, just the simple 10.9-inch 2019 iPad with 120 gigs of memory. And so I figured, since I'm spending that money, I got a checky poo. I got a nice commission check, one that, again, I wasn't expecting. That's what happens when you cast your pearls all over the place as a freelancer. Sometimes, well, I imagine more meticulous people wouldn't get surprised like this, but sometimes you'll get a check that you didn't budget, that you didn't remember, that is either you're going to spend it on a technological whim or you're going to put it in savings. And I managed to split it and do both. But I decided, since I was spending money anyway, since I was spending triple digits anyway on the iPad, that I would just go a little extra and buy the magnetic fabric skin keyboard, the smart keyboard, that is not Bluetooth. It connects with prongs directly to the machine so that it draws power directly from the machine. You're not futzing around with Bluetooth at all. And I thought I would try that experiment. The thing has really strong magnets. It doesn't wobble. It has a little slot so that you can fold it into a keyboard like a normal laptop. And, oh, BookTube, well, you've seen. The light in my eyes has been one of pure love since that happened. It's been about a month, maybe more than that. And I am absolutely in love with that iPad. My 7th iPad, 7 of 9. I'm absolutely in love with the iPad and the keyboard. To the extent that I have been trying, not zealously, but steadily over the course of the whole time I've had the thing, to just onboard more and more laptop functionality into this thing, so that I need my laptop, my actual laptop, for less and less. When I was up in Vermont visiting the Richardson family, Mark Richardson of Richardson Reads and his family very nicely invited me up to Vermont. And while I was up there, Mark's wife, who he has a significantly improved version of a Deb. So I always say my Deb, because he has a Deb as well. His Deb is significantly better than mine every way. Except maybe she doesn't have webbed feet, but I don't know what kind of an advantage that is. Anyway, she showed me extra functionality, extra things that I could download onto that iPad that further pull it away from being, an adjunct machine. This is no longer really an adjunct machine. It's really able to do a lot. And just yesterday, I was working on the iPad with the fabric skin keyboard, and thought to myself, well, there's one thing that's kind of bugging me here, which is that if I want to look something up, online, or if I want to watch a video, or if I, like, for instance, I'm reviewing a book by a certain author, and I have a suspicion that the author maybe has a bunch of videos. I was using the iPad, and I was thinking, the thing that's a little annoying, that I have to, close that window and open another one, that I can't do it at the same time. It turns out I can. I kind of knew that. I knew it was true with the iPad Pro. And it's the same thing. It's the iPad, the entry-level iPad for 2019 is the same thing. It doesn't have a couple of the tweaks and juices that the iPad Pro does, but it's the same machine. And it turns out there is a way to split the screen on that iPad and have two completely functional, separate desktops. You can do anything with either one of them. You can close out of either one of them and move on to something else. So that was great, but the experience of these burner phones has made me wonder about burner iPads. It's made me wonder what would happen. If I went online, looked around, and spent $20 on a 10-inch iPad, or a 10-inch tablet with 120 gigs of memory. If I looked around online and found one of those for $20, what would I get? What would it be? What would it be like? Typical, anecdotal understanding of such an enterprise would be that it would be terrible. That it would be a knockoff in all senses of the word, that you wouldn't want it, that $20 would be too much money, not too little money for it. That it'll have no functionality, tons of bloatware, lots of glitches, and then it will die in a month or two. And now I'm curious to know if that's true. Now I'm curious to know if the thing that Apple critics have been saying for 15 years, which is that you're paying through the nose for a brand, is actually true. Now, I know I said, I got an email from one of you, a very funny email from one of you saying that, this is not, repeat, not an okay for you to start flooding us with tech. We have a problem when it comes to buying tech. I can stop anytime that I want, but I am now looking into $20 tablets, $20 10-inch tablets. What can a $20 10-inch tablet do? What can I make it do? Is it true, maybe, that I'm going to encounter the same thing? That all of this is driven by gaming? And that if I don't care about gaming and I spend $20 on a 10-inch iPad with 128 gigs of memory, I'm going to feel like an absolute fool for having spent hundreds of dollars on the same thing. I even wonder if I could find a $20 10-inch 128 gig iPad substitute, a tablet, that has compatible lightning prongs that I can use my smart keyboard with. I'm even wondering if that's true. Or is that completely proprietary to Apple? I will keep you posted. I think it's, as long as I'm not spending a large amount of money, as long as one book review is easily covering all of these purchases with plenty of room to spare, then I'm kind of justifying it. Out of sheer curiosity, this stuff makes me fascinated. I grew up in a world that would have considered this complete science fiction. When you saw, when I was up in Vermont, the Three Musketeers, Mark Richardson and Jason Harrigan of Byways in Brooklyn and myself, did a three-way Zoom chat. And one of the first things we said in that Zoom chat was, this is Star Trek. None of us would have imagined the day when this would be routinely possible. As an aside, I have heard the multitude of cries going up from the land of Canaan, wanting the Three Musketeers to reunite in another Zoom call. I have heard your calls. I am working. It's very hard to convince old people to do anything, but I'm working on it. but that is what informs my curiosity here, is that this stuff is miraculous, and it's taken for granted by the 21st century that grew up with it. So in terms of tech, that is my next experiment. My last experiment, the burner phone experiment, has been 99% a success. The one element left is, can I activate a phone account on one of these things? Other than that, it was a complete success. These are wonderful, completely functional devices for $15. That was my last experiment. That experiment is now over. I will not get any other burner phones, I promise. I have two, that's plenty, plus my iPhone. My next experiment is tablets. A $20 tablet. What can a $20 tablet do? And I will keep you posted. But in addition to all of that nattering, I also have mail. So I have 3 packages. We'll go through those and see what we have. One of them is a box, but it's a lightweight box. So I don't think it's going to be packed with titles like yesterday's was. Let's see here. Okay, you sent me an invoice. That is gross. Oh, okay. All right, this is a February release. This author sounds familiar. You'll probably know. You probably have better memory than I do. A lot of you do. I leave my email on every video. So you can email me about anything you want. And a lot of you are new to the channel. Have tried it and have expressed a little bit of surprise that it doesn't lead to a merch store or to a dummy account or anything like that. And it also doesn't lead to a make-weight account that's given to me by Gmail or given to me by YouTube or something that I never check. It leads to my email. It leads to my inbox. And you can email me about anything you want. As long as you don't expect an incredibly prompt reply, in many cases, I will do my best to respond. And a lot of you respond to mail hauls with all kinds of fascinating details. I love it. Bring it on. This is Andrew Main, whose name sounds really familiar. The screed at the top says that he's the author of something called The Naturalist, but that's not ringing a bell. I would bet I know this author from something else. This is called Black Coral. An evocatively green cover. A diver from way below. A diver who would have to be insane. You'd have to be insane to scuba dive. But let's see what we have here. For a police diver in Florida, solving a cold case mystery brings a serial killer out of hiding in a deep, dark thriller by the Wall Street Journal best-selling author of The Naturalist. Okay, that's going to drive me crazy. What else has Andrew Main done? What else has he done? Don't tell me that The Naturalist is the only thing he's done. That's not possible. Oh, okay. He's written a lot. The Underwater Investigation Unit series, of which this is one. The previous one was The Girl Beneath the Sea, which I remember but ignored because it's a girl title. But he also, there's a thing called the Chronological Man series. The first one is The Monster in the Mist, and the second one is The Martian Emperor. I believe I know those books. Not sure if I've read them. But let's keep going here. Sloane McPherson and the Underwater Investigation Unit have discovered a van at the bottom of a murky Florida pond. Why would you dive into a murky Florida pond with alligators everywhere? Anyway, sealed inside the watery tomb are the bodies of 4 teenagers who disappeared 30 years ago after leaving a rock concert. To authorities, it looks like a tragic accident. To Sloane, it looks like murder. Every piece of evidence is starting to connect to a string of cold case vanishings throughout Florida. Clue by clue, Sloane navigates the warm, dark waters where natural predators feed, knowing that the most dangerous one is still above the surface, nesting and dormant. Okay, whoever wrote this cover copy has earned their paycheck for the week, as Captain Kirk would say. But when a fresh young kill is found in the Everglades, Sloane fears that her investigation has reawakened a monster. How can she catch someone who's a genius at hiding in plain sight? By acting as prey. The dangerous gambit is working only too well. She's being lured into a deception of a madman's own design. Has Sloane set a trap for a serial killer, or has he set one for her? So this is the book 2 of the Underwater Investigation Unit, and it comes out in mid-February, and that's a shame because I want to read this right away. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to read any 2021 books in 2020. But that sounds fantastic. So maybe what I'll do as a sort of sop is to get the first one. Even though it is a girl title, The Girl Beneath the Sea. The Girl Beneath the Sea is probably, the publishers would probably send me that, and that would maybe be, because I don't remember reading it, so I probably didn't. Okay, we're off to a fine start. A serial killer in Florida. All right, let's move on to this next one, and then we'll do the box. Oh my, oh goodness gracious. Oh boy, okay. This is an advanced copy, I believe. Penguins aren't going to start to look like this, are they? It's a Penguin Classic. I occasionally, not as often as I would like anymore, I get Penguin Classics in the mail. I don't have any kind of paperwork with this. I wonder if Penguin is going to rebrand themselves in 2021 to look like this. Or maybe this is an advanced copy, I don't know. But either way, this is a new edition of the selected poetry of Pushkin, translated by Anthony Wood. And that's what it looks like. You've got the block lettering there and the broader band of white there for the banner. Not sure if this is a new look for Penguin. We shall see. But this is fantastic. Great. Alexander Pushkin established what we know as Russian literature. This collection includes his strongly personal lyric verse, which springs spontaneously from his everyday life, his numerous loves, his exile, his hectic life in St. Petersburg, while the narrative poems here, from exotic southern tales to comic parodies to fairy tales of enchanted czars, display his endless ability to surprise. His landmark work, The Bronze Horseman, with its ghostly central figure of Peter the Great, holds the meaning of all Russian history. Anthony Wood's translations express the variety, inventiveness, and perfection of Pushkin's verse. Wow. So this is translated with notes, and the notes are extensive. Incredible. Okay. No date on this at all. It's going to be a $17 paperback, but I'll have to look and see if this is when this is coming out, and what it's going to look like. I'm kind of curious now as to what this is a slightly different rebranding. I'll be interested to see if this is an advanced copy, if I'm going to get something different. But it's always nice to get a Penguin Classic in the mail, and if this is a 2020 release, I can dig into it right away. And then we have the box. We have a box, and then we'll be done. Boxes come in handy. I will repurpose this. And also, the packing paper also comes in handy. Because if you unfold all this stuff and place it underneath a pile of heavy books for a week, when you're done, you've got perfectly useful scrap paper. So let's see. Let's see. Oh no! Oh, we've already seen this. Yeah, this is a double. I believe this is a double. This comes out in a week, just in a few days. The date is 13th of October. That's probably a Tuesday, so next Tuesday. I think we've seen this already. This is a finished copy of Philip and Alexander, Kings and Conquerors by Adrian Goldsworthy, a popular classic historian that a lot of you will have read. A lot of you will trust him because he's quite good. He's received his D.Phil in ancient history from Oxford and has taught at Cardiff University, King's College, and the University of Notre Dame in London. And he's written books, Pax Romana, How Rome Fell, and of course his big biography of Julius Caesar. And this is his dual study of King Philip II of Macedon and his famous son, Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great often overshadows his father, understandably so, since his father conquered a whole bunch of hilltop villages and threatened the classical democracy of ancient Greece, and Alexander conquered the known world. So that's a slightly different scope. But still, biographers of Alexander for a long time have pointed out that he wouldn't have come to much without the lessons, good and bad, mostly bad, imparted by his father. And I think we saw this. I'll have to check out in the other room, but I think this is a double. And if it is, it seems like a perfect candidate to go to a certain little library up in Vermont. We'll probably have a lot of history fans up there. Although in order for any new acquisition to get to the Wethersfield Proctor Library, it has to get past the gigantic grizzly bear at the top of the spawning stream. It's possible that Mark might want this himself. One way or another, I don't need a double. So what have we got here? Alexander the Great's conquest staggered the world. He led his army across thousands of miles from northern Greece to modern Pakistan, overthrowing the greatest empires of his time and building a new one in their place. Leading from the front, he won more victories than any fictional hero. He claimed to be the son of a god, but he was actually the son of Philip II of Macedon, who was inevitably overshadowed by his remarkable son. When Philip is remembered at all, it is an old man, one-eyed and limping from his battle wounds, too drunk to cross the floor when he lost his temper with Alexander. And a lot of those anecdotes, you have to remember, were written by people who wanted Alexander's favor. So their complete veracity is a little in doubt. But as Alexander Goldsworthy shows in this book, Alexander could never have achieved as much as he did without the work of his father. Philip inherited a minor kingdom on the verge of being dismembered and turned everything around, leading Macedonia to dominance throughout Greece and preparing the Persian War, which Alexander would lead. He created the army that would win Alexander's victories. The father and son were also far more alike in their methods than is usually realized. Alexander inherited all of this at the perfect moment and age for him to chance his luck and win far greater glory. Alexander's story has been told before, but as Goldsworthy argues, the relationship between him and his father has long been overlooked, and too often the problems and gaps in our sources are ignored. We simply do not have a record of what the two men thought or felt about their experience. However, by focusing on the details of what they did and the wider world they operated in, we can start to glean a sense of what their lives were like. I have not read this, and I should, because it's coming up right away. I'm going to want to write about it. And Alexander is one of my 5 guys. So there you go. That is the mail. Philip and Alexander by Adrian Goldsworthy, who I'm sure a lot of you have read and liked. The selected poetry of Alexander Pushkin, in a new translation from Penguin by Anthony Wood, and Black Coral, the second underwater investigations unit thriller from Andrew Main, that comes out in February. I'm gonna have to The Girl Under the Sea. I'm gonna have to get a copy of that. But anyway, that's the mail. So that is your MegaStuff update. You have mail and 2 burner phones. And I'm going to wrap this up for now. That's all I've got for you today, but I will be back. Thank you, BookTube.